Hi guys, welcome back to the Female Fitness Podcast. I'm your host Danny, and in today's episode, I'm going to talk about body image and social media, or in other words, how social media can impact our body image, because it is something that can have a big impact. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because it's come up in conversation with quite a lot of clients over the last week or so. And I know that the conversation we have had has really benefited them. It's also been really insightful, generally as a two-way conversation for me too. And it is a really interesting subject and something that I think if you improve your awareness on, it can have a really big impact on how you kind of feel in your own skin. And if you are more intentional about the way that you use social media, it can have much more of a positive effect than maybe it currently is. And that is where I wanted to start with this podcast is in saying that social media is not inherently bad. And for a lot of us, we're not going to be able to get rid of it completely. We just need to be more intentional with the way that we're using it because it can be used for a lot of good. We can have a positive relationship with social media. It can be a good thing, especially for those of us who run our businesses online. We have to use social media. And so we almost have a duty for our own selves to create a positive relationship with it, as opposed to letting it be something that we hate and we almost have to force ourselves to use. So, that's where I wanted to start. And I think if you're listening to this, what I would love you to do as I'm talking through this, or even pause the podcast right now and have a think about this, is think about what your relationship with social media currently looks like. How much time are you spending on social media? What does your experience on social media look like? What are you going on there for? What purpose is it serving for you? When do you go on social media? Are there some times which feel more productive than others? If so, when are the occasions which is actually having a detrimental effect? An example could be if you're scrolling right before you go to bed or as soon as you wake up, potentially for some people. I'm not saying that's for everyone, but for some people that may be the case. And I just want you to have a bit of a reflection on what your relationship with social media looks like at the moment, what your experience with it is like, and what impact it's having on you, if any, personally and professionally, and if it's having an impact on you, in what areas is that good and bad? And is there specific content or certain accounts which feel more positive for you and certain accounts which feel more negative? So have a think about that because that is your starting point. And like I said, this is not about the extremes. It's not about completely eradicating social media, but it's about recognizing that if you want the outcome of using social media to be positive, you have to be intentional with the way that you use it, how much time you spend on it, and when you spend that time. Because as I just mentioned, you might find that at certain times of the day, you're able to be much more conscious, controlled, and intentional with the way that you use it. But at other times, it's serving a different purpose, and you're much more likely to go into sort of mindless scrolling, maybe. And I want you to try and think about the kind of content you engage with on social media and also whether you use it for other reasons, such as connection, like messaging friends or having connection with other professionals in your area online or whatever that might be, because that's certainly one of the reasons why I use social media. Is because I do have friends all over the world. I love keeping up with their lives. I love talking to them. And I also quite enjoy sending the odd funny reel or like travel video of somewhere that I would love to go and explore and that kind of thing as well. So it serves a positive purpose for me in that way personally. But something that comes up with a lot of clients I work with, or even potential clients who I have consultation calls with, and also friends and family members, is that they generally tend to follow influencers with a very specific body type. And this isn't always a conscious choice. Sometimes it's just something that you end up following a lot of a certain type of influencer, usually falling into the category of being very lean or very thin. If you're someone who listens to this podcast and is interested in the realms of health and fitness and potentially style and that kind of thing as well. And also, there's a lot of like beauty content on social media, whether you engage with that or not, that's another kind of like realm that might come into this. But my point is, a lot of you listening to this may have, whether it have been intentional or completely non-intentional, you may have curated a social media feed which is full of people in one kind of body. And that body, for a lot of people that I work with, ends up being very lean or very thin. And this isn't exclusive to fitness influencers. You might think about what kind of fashion influencers do you follow? Because a lot of people that I work with will end up following a lot of lean, young, slim fashion influencers as well. And this is not inherently a problem, and it's not like those influencers aren't the problem. The problem is when we only follow this one body type, we only follow women that are lean, then if we don't fall into that category ourselves, we feel like an outlier because we've almost created this false sense of what normal is. Whereas if you went to your local shopping centre or you went grocery shopping, you would see so many different people in so many different bodies. That is a more accurate representation of reality of the general population. And when you're exposed to that, you don't feel like an outlier because there's a wide range of different people in different body types, and that's perfectly normal. We are all different. But if you spend a lot of time on social media and all of the accounts you follow are women who are very lean and maybe very young as well, it makes you feel like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I the odd one out here? And you may feel much more prone to wanting to shrink yourself and change your body because you feel like the odd one out. Because as humans, we naturally want to fit in. That is a natural human instinct. So when we feel like the odd one out, we may feel more negatively about our bodies and like we need to change them. And I want to say, whilst I'm talking about this, there's nothing wrong with wanting to pursue fat loss. But even if you do have fat loss as a goal, we want to pursue that goal from this place of self-acceptance and self-respect rather than from a place of what's wrong with me, I need to change, or I feel shame over the way that I am, or I feel like I'm the odd one out and I need to fit in. That is not a positive place to pursue the goal of fat loss from. So even if you listen to this and you're like, but I do want to lose fat, so is it a problem to follow a lot of lean, slim influencers? It's not inherently a problem, but it can create problems if you only follow that type of person, and therefore you feeling like you don't fit into that category makes you feel less about yourself, has a negative impact on your self-esteem and your relationship with yourself and your body image, because then any goals that you set in relation to fat loss come from this place of there's something wrong with me, hate, shame, negativity towards yourself. Whereas if you followed a wide range of different creators in different body types, you would more likely, because you have this more accurate representation of reality and you have this exposure to lots of different amazing people in different bodies, you no longer feel like the odd one out, and you're probably not going to have so much negativity towards yourself. And it's going to help you get to this place where you can accept yourself and respect yourself and work to change from a place of self-respect, which is much more productive for success with our goals, especially when we consider the long term. And that can be so, like, it sounds like something so minor, but it can genuinely have a huge impact when we do expose ourselves to a wide range of different people for different reasons and in different bodies. So this isn't only like exclusive to fitness, as I mentioned with the fashion example, it could be that you go out of your way to follow people for different reasons other than what they look like and other than beauty related things as well. So it could be that you follow people for their knowledge on a subject that you're really interested in to broaden your horizons as well, and also just change your general experience of social media. Your experience of social media may become more nourishing and positive if you're following people for different reasons other than external appearance, beauty, fashion, fitness related reasons. Because it helps you then see when you see the value in other people for reasons beyond what they look like, and you make an effort to acknowledge those things, you then see the beauty in yourself outside of what you look like. You see the positive qualities that you have much more easily, and they often become higher in value when you make an effort to recognize these things in other people, and when you expose yourself to content that highlights those strengths in people or your interests in other areas. For me, it might be travel, and I like learning about different subjects like psychology. So I might follow some people that are really knowledgeable in that area. And again, that broadens my horizons and makes my experience of social media more positive, because it's not just like I'm going on there and being bombarded with content from people who place a lot of emphasis on their external appearance, or people who create content that very much centers their body and what they look like. And that is so positive for our body image. So I hope you see where I'm going with this. And then on top of that, when we do look at the fitness side of things, a lot of very lean fitness influencers, for example, who are in the coaching industry, do post content which encourages comparison, pushes on our pain points, things that we struggle with to make us feel like we need to change our bodies, and will generally post a lot of physique-based content because that is what their business is built around. And that's how they make money, by making you feel insecure and by making you feel like you need to change your bodies when their business is built around physique development and transformations, external transformations, for example. And when these influencers that we follow post a lot of physique-based content and they emphasize their own physique, and that's what they kind of view as success for themselves, and that's the only message we're exposed to, that influences then what we focus on in ourselves as well. Just like on the flip side of that, if we focus on following people for their knowledge on different subjects and for, I don't know, travel recommendations and other things and just their personality, who they are as a person, we focus on those things in ourselves. We have a more positive relationship with ourselves and see our value in so many other areas other than what we look like. On the flip side of that, when we only focus people who, if we only follow people who emphasize what they look like and create content based on that, it influences what we focus on in ourselves, and we become more aware of what we look like. We become more aware of any small fluctuations that we may see in our body composition that are just a natural part of life that we all experience. And that can have a very negative impact on our general perception of our bodies and our self-esteem when we are so caught up in all of those minor fluctuations and we're so focused on our bodies as almost a determinant of success. So I would really love you to reflect on the content that you choose to expose yourself to on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube maybe, and ask what effect it's having on your relationship with yourself. And also then following that, how you could audit what you expose yourself to enable it to have a more positive impact on your relationship with yourself and on your life and how you feel after spending time on social media. So that's the first point in terms of the type of content we follow and having a bit of an audit on that. And something else that I'd recommend is generally like if you are scrolling social media and you see some content that triggers you to think negatively about yourself. You see an account that you think, actually, whenever I see their content, I engage in negative comparison, I feel worse about my body, I compare myself to them, then unfollow that account or mute that account. Muting, no one will ever know. So there is no harm in muting someone's account, even if you don't want to fully unfollow them. It's a great option and it's taking back control of what you expose yourself to. I know you can't have full control, but you can have a lot more control over social media than you might think, and a lot more control of what comes up on your feed than we have been able to have in the past. You can either even enter specific keywords from, I think it's in the settings somewhere, you can enter specific keywords of content that you want to see related to these subjects and things that you don't want to see as well. Now, I will try and include how to do that in the description below because I found it the other day and now I can't find it when I was speaking to a client today. So I'll have a look through that and try and include your instructions to filter what kind of content you want to see in the description. And if I don't, please feel free to message me about that. But that's one point. And generally, just maybe you have a day where you do an audit. You go through the people that you're following and you're brutal with unfollowing some accounts that you know don't have a positive effect on you. And you make an effort to follow accounts that you know will have a positive effect on your experience of social media and will broaden your horizons a little bit and that aren't just focused on what people look like. So that is something that I'd recommend first and foremost. Secondly, to that, on the point of if you are someone whose screen time is very excessive, you spend a lot of time on social media and you're aware that is having a negative effect on you, first of all, as I mentioned at the start of this podcast, I would ask what purpose social media is serving for you because it will be serving a purpose and there's no need to judge yourself over that. So it could be that you're feeling bored and so you're scrolling social media. Maybe you're procrastinating a work task that you need to be doing that you don't want to do. Maybe you are trying to numb out because there are feelings and emotions that are difficult to feel. Maybe you're seeking dopamine. Maybe you're seeking comfort of some kind. Ask yourself why. What purpose is it serving if your screen time is incredibly high and you want to reduce that? Because there will be a reason. And if you identify the reason, you can then think about what would be better for you to do at those times where you're needing whatever you're needing in that moment. Are you needing connection? If so, would in-person connection be better or phoning a friend as opposed to going on social media? Are you bored? If so, maybe reading a book would be better or getting yourself outside or going to a coffee shop or exploring something somewhere new. There are so many options, but figuring out why you're spending so much time on social media will help you come up with effective solutions and help you reduce your screen time if that is something that you want to do. So that's the first thing I would ask. Why? The second thing I would do is try and think of ways you can create friction between you and using social media. So, one example that I speak to clients about a lot is deleting the Instagram app off your home screen. The reason for this is then you can't habitually just click on it. You have to search for the app in your search bar on your phone. And even just having to search for the app in your search bar creates a bit of a pause as opposed to you just habitually clicking on it and the app flashing up. And sometimes that pause can be enough for you to be like, do I actually want to go on the app? And create a little bit of friction. There are also obviously screen time limits that you can set, and there are other apps that you can use to block your certain apps or your phone after certain screen time limits. And there is also an app called Forest where you can grow a tree on your phone, which kind of gamifies spending time off of it. If you're working, for example, you could use Forest, grow this tree whilst you're working, and it encourages you to spend as much time off of your phone as possible in order to grow a tree, which for some people can be quite, you can just gamifies it and makes it easier to do the thing. Or leaving your phone out of wherever you're working, another great example or option. And another thing that I would recommend is if it is possible for you, making sure that you're sleeping with your phone at least at the other end of the room, if not outside of your bedroom, because again, then you're not just going to pick it up immediately first thing in the morning and start scrolling, and you're also not going to be able to like fall asleep scrolling on your phone, which I think is probably for a lot of people that I've spoken to, the first thing in the morning and just immediately before bed tend to be the most detrimental times to kind of dead scroll your phone because it interferes with your sleep in the evening. And in the morning, it just kind of it puts you into a reactive state first thing in the morning, which I don't think is the best thing. And you never know what you're going to see on social media. So you're risking seeing something that evokes an emotional response, triggers you, creates a reaction, and then you're not starting your day off on a very good foot. So I would generally say first thing in the morning and last thing at night tend to be the times that are most detrimental to be dead scrolling and to immediately be on your phone. And I personally have found as well, I'm quite good at not spending time on my phone at those times. I read in the morning and I we watch TV and then I go to bed at night, generally, as a rule of thumb. But I did go through a phase years ago where I did go on my phone first thing. And I found after coming away from that and being really rigid with not spending time on my phone first thing, it meant that I spent less time on my phone throughout the day. And I don't know the reason for that, but it just kind of sets me up to spend less time on it. And I don't really know why, but I seem to be able to resist it much more easily if I don't go on it first thing. And if I almost create distance from my phone, between myself and my phone, and I do something else for myself in real life. So that could help some of you as well. And then I something that I think is important to acknowledge is that, like I said, being on your phone isn't inherently bad and social media isn't inherently bad. So maybe we just need to be more intentional with the way and when we use it. So when it comes to the times that we use it, maybe you could schedule and actively plan time in where you are going to go on your phone and connect with people and look at the content that you love and reply to messages and whatever it is, and set an alarm or a limit of some kind and then come off. So you've got your fill and you're doing that at a time where you feel like you have more control and you're less likely to dead scroll. So like I wouldn't recommend scheduling that time in an evening when you're really tired and you're likely to just keep scrolling mindlessly. Instead, maybe you do that at some point in the day, or when you get in from work, you catch up with social media and then you put your phone away and spend the rest of the evening away from it. That is another example. So it's not just about kind of it's not always reducing the time we're spending on it. Sometimes it's spending time more intentionally and thinking about the time of the day where we're going to be able to use social media more productively and making sure that we know our intentions when we're going on there. So it's like maybe you could take a pause and ask, what do I want to achieve by going on social media right now? Do I want to catch up with my favorite accounts? Do I want to learn something? Do I want to reply to messages? And that pause, that setting your intentions before you do it might help you have a more positive experience of it and also get what you need to get done, which is especially important if you run a business on social media. So they are my thoughts on social media. I would love to hear from you if you have had, say you've had a rocky experience with social media, or even if you've been on a bit of a journey with it and what you expose yourself to on there. Maybe you have struggled with your body image and you've made an effort to change the content that you expose yourself to. I'd love to hear about your experiences with social media. Like what is going on for you right now? How are you feeling towards it right now? Are there any goals that you want to work towards with it? Do you want to use it differently or feel differently after you've used it? Do you want to reduce your screen time? Do you want to cut it out altogether? Let me know your thoughts because I'd love to hear from you. I genuinely really enjoy interesting conversations with people. So please, if you listen to the podcast, reach out to me on Instagram because I would love a chat about whatever's going on for you right now. And obviously, if there's ever anything I can do to help, I'm always happy to help out. But I also just generally love a chat. So I'd love to hear your insights, your experiences. Please reach out to me. I hope you're having a lovely week when you listen to this, and I will see you next. I was going to say next week, but it depends when you listen to this. I'll see you then.